Susan here from FC Endurance, and this is part one of a two-part series on gut training for endurance athletes. This first presentation focuses on gastric emptying, or more specifically, delayed gastric emptying. So when food enters your stomach, you have two sphincters. You have one at the top called your lower esophageal sphincter, and you have one at the bottom, the pyloric sphincter. And the pyloric sphincter regulates the rate at which fluid leaves the stomach, and this is under control of all kinds of things like hormones, the type of food that you eat, so the stomach contents, does it include fiber, the carbohydrate content, all sorts of things. And this is really important because if it's delayed, meaning that pyloric sphincter remains tight and doesn't allow liquid to enter into the lower intestine, this is what leads to you feeling bloated and accumulating all of that liquid that you may be drinking, especially on the bike, in the stomach. So unfortunately, the rate of gastric emptying is decreased by both exercise and dehydration. So exactly when you're wanting to go get more fluids in, it seems like our body is working against us, and that pyloric sphincter is remaining tight and reducing the rate at which the stomach contents are emptied into the small intestine. So this is data from a study in which they looked at the influence of dehydration and exercise on the rate of gastric emptying. Now, those that were in the resting group were dehydrated to 4% of their body weight through the use of a sauna, and the one in the exercise group was on a treadmill running at 60% their maximal speed. And what they found is that when you are exercising, you have more drink that remains in your stomach over time. What's worse is if you start out dehydrated. So in this graph over here, both groups are exercising at that 60% maximal speed, but one group started out dehydrated. What EE stands for is euhydration, meaning that these people were well hydrated before they started their activity. And then of all the groups they tested, this group that started out dehydrated and exercised had the lowest rate of gastric emptying. And of those people, 37.5% of those subjects reported GI complaints, like bloating, during the protocol. The rate of gastric emptying is also decreased by heat stress. So again, it feels like our body is working against us. The hotter it is, the slower the rate of gastric emptying. And so this is data from a study in which they took fit men and they had them undergo 15-minute bouts of exercise under different environments that were categorized as neutral, warm, or hot. And they were exercising at 50% of their VO2 max. Their rectal temperature was measured at 10 minutes in, and their stomach contents were aspirated after 15. And what they found was that the higher the rectal temperature, the less of that original drink that was given was emptied into the small intestine. So the hotter you are, the lower the rate of your gastric emptying. So can you train your gut to reduce bloating? Well, unfortunately, training does not increase the rate of gastric emptying, but you can improve your discomfort. In this last study that I want to show you, they had trained athletes that were running for 90 minutes at 65% of their VO2 max. They did this 6 different times with about 7 to 11 days between each run. Now, in this first run, they drank ad libitum, which means as much as they wanted. And then they measured the amount of sweat that they lost. And in all the subsequent runs, they gave them the amount of fluid that would replace that sweat from the first run. And that is a ton of fluid. A lot of people do not drink that volume when they are exercising. And so what they found is that over time, the rate of gastric emptying did not change, but their level of discomfort improved. And so in runs 5 and 6, they reported feeling significantly more comfortable than they did in these first few runs. And so practicing high volume intake over time will improve your comfort and reduce that feeling of being bloated. So what are some key takeaways? We can't increase the rate of our gastric emptying by training, but you can increase your rate of gastric emptying by ensuring that you're well hydrated before you exercise or before race day. So make sure you're not starting a long session underhydrated. While we can't change the weather on race day, you can help reduce your core temperature with ice and cold liquids to prevent that delay in gastric emptying. And then finally, you can improve your comfort by training with higher volumes of water. If you're interested in improving carbohydrate absorption and performance on race day, click on that link below and it'll take you to part 2 of this series.